No job market. Read over, taking it back over there.
Thou become light unto us. Verse 11.
Go ahead.
Thy pomp is brought down to the grave.
So it's saying the Most High is going to bring down the so-called white man's pride. Like they saw, you know, well, yeah, matter of fact, you don't hear no more than damn Bruce Springsteen songs. Born in the USA. You know why? Because it ain't no place, nothing to be proud of. You can't find very little. The only thing you can find made in the USA is bombs. You know what I'm saying? They done outsourced GM. You know what I mean? The GM just go, it was either GM or Chrysler that just got divided up between Fiat of Italy, Brazil, China, and India. So the Most High is tearing them up. Read on down, brother.
And the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee.
When it said the worm signify like when a person died and their body goes through decomposition, the decomposing process is the worms eating. So when it said the worms is in this system, it's talking about corruption. The corruption is corroding away. The Most High got this system being eaten away by Esau's own corruption. The reason why I said it is because, let me say this, who do you think created the dynamic that caused America's economical, political, and social descent? But their leaders, man. Going into treaties and agreements like NAFTA, like CAFTA. You know what I'm saying? Like the SPP, which is what the Security and Prosperity Partnership that does exist. I shouldn't say supposed to. It does exist between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and it's not going to take Mexico and bring Mexico's living standard up to that of the United States and Canada. It's going to take the United States and Canada and bring them down to a third world status of Mexico. And that's already been seen. They're erasing the borders. You know what I mean? So the Most High has got these people, in other words, their own leaders are making decisions and moves and legislative actions that result in the deterioration of their own society, that result in the loss of their own job market, that result in the diminishing of their own medical, medical care, their medical industry, the industry of medicine. Go ahead.
And the worms cover thee.
Go ahead. The worms are beneath thee, and the worms cover thee. This kingdom is completely embedded in corruption. You find out that all the damn congressmen and faggots, you know, certain congressmen and senators been getting arrested in airports in the United States soliciting sex for men in the bathroom. I can't think of some of these people's names, but it's coming out every other day. Homosexuals, the leaders. Go ahead.
Verse 12.
Now, he's going to talk about this specific person. Go ahead.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
Now stop right there. We've been reading from verses 4 all the way to verse 11. The descent, as it put it in verse 4, the fall of an oppressive kingdom. It said Babylon. Babylon the Great, that's America, okay? And all of the things that it said, the kingdom that ruled the other nations in anger, that had a continual stroke, all the corruption. Now he comes back and refers to that dynamic that he described as the fall of Lucifer from heaven. So in other words, it's showing you, this is dynamic that's taking place on earth, but that name has been given to the person so as to tell you who he is. He's the person, Lucifer, whose life is the one that is preeminent in the world. So when you go across the countries, you go to all the nations, why is it that the Arab world got damn presidents? What the hell they need with presidents? Didn't they have sultans and caliphs? Right? But now they got presidents. You come down to Latin America, they used to have capitanes y generales. Now they got presidents. Presidentes. Everybody knows that just the words and the vernacular itself shows you who the influence is coming from. It shows you where the influence stemmed from. And they call all of these very same structures, even if it's a dictator, because they got the title president, they call it a what? A democracy. Did not Bush say the Iraqis are enjoying democracy? Over and over? Yeah, they got the what? They always have to have 1 million damn soldiers to keep people from coming in and doing suicide bombings at an election. That's showing that Esau is bringing his doctrine to the people by force. It ain't working for the other nations. Hell, it ain't even working for Esau. So when they say Lucifer, he's talking about that one man who imposes his knowledge, who imposes his will, who imposes his doctrine. You understand? Who imposes his method, who imposes his politic on other nations. And when they don't bow, then he has ways of making them submit. And the most fierce is the bombardment of war. Go ahead. Verse from the top of verse 12 again.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
So he's saying that this position of power, this position of being continually striking the nation, this condition of being the preeminent, they're falling from that. They're no longer going to be in the position to oppress other nations. That's what he's telling you. How art thou fallen from heaven? That heavenly state, that powerful state. O Lucifer, go ahead.
Son of the morning.
Continue.
How art thou cut down to the ground?
The Most High is going to cut down to the ground. Go ahead.
Which didst weaken the nation.
Now let me say this. It shows you. That's what this dude did. Now how did he weaken the nations? Brother, you already got some of the books. You need to get, particularly, just get one book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. And it goes, it's an entry-level book that introduces you to the world of jackals, to the world of CIA-driven coups, the overthrows, the setting up of puppet governments under the United States. It really shows you, because what Esau does, like I said, how did he weaken the nation? He has what he calls destabilization efforts. That's what's taking place right now. Excuse me. Say it again. In Honduras. In Iran. Iran just had their election. Ahmadinejad, how you say his name, won with an overwhelming landslide, man. But all of a sudden, everybody's out there. Now, this is how you know it's some Esau's destabilization effort. You got the Iranians in the middle of Iran, in an Iranian election, running through the streets picketing with English signs. You ain't see that on the news? They got English signs. My vote didn't count. But they don't speak, they speak Farsi. Let me know that's all photo ops for the West, so they can drum support to make another strike. That they did the same thing with Iraq. They also found bombs. They say that this is Esau's way of how he weakens the nation. The first thing he does is he causes dissension between the people. That's all he does. He causes dissension between the people, and then stages all type of terrorist attacks, state-sponsored, government-sponsored terrorist attacks. It's coming out in the news, and it's coming out through all of these what we call insiders, people who once part of the structure. You understand that most of, if not all of, the true terrorist organizations were all founded by a British MI6. CIA, the Taliban, everyone knows that the Taliban and the Mujahideen was created by Zbigniew Brzezinski, okay, as a defense, a front against the Russians for the spread of communism. And the United States set up Saddam Hussein to go against Iran. In other words, all this contention in the world is Esau's intervention. That's what he called foreign policy. Destabilization, so he can keep people fighting against one another, go in and pose as the savior and set up people that will follow his orders, what they call puppet regimes. That's how he did it. Then if that don't work, if that doesn't work, then what does he do? He goes out and he creates all type of scandals about the leader. Sometimes they get leaders, like they've done it recently with 2 presidents consecutive of South Korea. South Korea have been making a continual effort to try to reunify with North Korea, and every time each president does it, some scandal pops up, and they end up having to, they're forced to resign. So he's got those type of, in other words, what they call political assassination. They can, in other words, destroy your political career. Then if that don't work, they send in people to try to buy you off. They send in people, they send in what John Perkins called economic hitmen, to go in and try to act like they want to help the country, help modernize the country, help the country with some form of infrastructure that they can really use, but of course by financing it by way of the World Bank and the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Then, once these leaders take the leaders are coached and agree to do it, but not pay the loan back, so that country defaults on the loan and therefore becomes vassal to the United States and the banking system. Those are all methods. And when the leader is resolute and decide they're not going to do it, then they go in